Hey everyone, today we're going to work on this Williams Sorcerer. Just a mini fix, not a huge amount of stuff to do, but we've got a bunch of lights out on the playfield. I've done a play test on it. The left flipper sticks up sometimes, and some of these switches are not responsive enough, so we need to either fix them or clean them if that's all it needs doing. But yeah, these ones here, you can't really hit them. You can hit them as many times as you want, but they don't actually register. So it's a game that looks really cool with the lights off. It's very nice artwork on this. Right, so first things first, I've stuck it in lamp test so we can see what's not working and try and identify what the problem is. It looks flickery on the camera because it's LED, but they're fine in real life. That one looks like it's actually a bulb and not an LED, as it's not behaving the same as the rest. Same with that there. Right, so what have we got that's not working? We've got the 6x bonus, the 20,000 bonus, the 3,000 bonus, the R light on Sorcerer, the top, that's the C letter on the top line. Is that everything? I'm not sure. Oh, this advance here. So what we're going to do, I've got the manual. We can look at the matrix and see what's what. Okay, so the lamp matrix table here will help us identify, and we can see quite quickly. So we've got the R, the C, right flipper return. Oh yeah, so that'll be the return lane, that white light there. 3,000, the 20,000, 6,000, and something in the back glass as well. So that is going to be our problem. So this row, which is a red and orange wire, which goes to 1J63, that is the problem. So normally on a Williams games like this, if it's got the push-in style connectors, it's going to be the connector that's the problem. It could also be a failed drive transistor on the driver board, but we'll open up the glass and we'll have a wiggle around the wires, and I think there's a 75% chance it's going to be the connector, maybe 25% chance it's going to be a transistor. But we'll find out exactly what it is. Right, when we open the back box, we can see we've got an LED out here. This is probably that one that's on that string, and we've got one here, not sure if that's related, if that's just a bad LED or socket. I think I just saw it flicker. We'll have a closer look at that one, but that one's going to be the one that's on that same row. We also need to stick that display on to the PCB, because that'll get damaged obviously floating around like that. Quick look in the back box. I can see I've been here before. I think it was a couple of owners ago, because I only worked for the last owner of this machine that I bought it from. But it's got a arcadeuk NVRAM board on there. It looks like someone else has been working on this board as well, because there's a different ROM on there. I can see I've worked on this power supply because it's got my writing on it. And I also think I've probably fitted that as well at some point in the past, the incognito board, one with the bridge rectifiers and the capacitors on. So yeah, I've been here before. It's quite funny this comes up more and more often as time goes on. I think I've now bought at least 2 or 3 Bally or Stern machines where it actually came with my LED displays in, so some people have bought displays off me and then I've ended up buying the machine at some point later down the line. So this top corner here, we have the red wires which are the lamp rows and the yellow wires which are the lamp columns. I need to see if I've done a video on this machine before, or this board before. That black connector is a Molex connector that I use when I'm doing repairs. So it looks like I might have done that in the past. But the row one has a partially broken connector. Well, it's just the plastic housing that's broken, so it's not important. But that's the connector where we've got an issue. So I don't know if someone else has worked on that one or not. Let's power the machine on and then we'll wiggle that connector and see if that fixes anything. Yeah, I wiggled the connector, it didn't make any difference. It looks like the pins are making reasonably good contact. So even though the housing is broken on that connector, it's probably fine. Let's power it off and disconnect it and have a look at the condition of the pin. So another thing I just noticed, when you power the machine on, sometimes it fires some of the coils, like it'll fire the knocker up there in the corner and the bell. Let me just see if it'll do it. Obviously it won't do it while I'm showing you. Let's try it a couple of times. Yeah, annoying thing. Well, it's alright, it did do it a couple of times. So potentially there's a problem with the blanking circuit that we might want to check as well at some point. Yeah, this connector looks okay. Looks like it's got new pins in it and they all look to be crimped fine, they're not loose. Pins look pretty decent on that connector. I'm wondering if I've replaced this, as this has smoked at some point. You can see there's a big burn patch there, and some of these resistors have been replaced. That one's looking a bit crappy. Well, it's not. It's probably fine. It's just the coating's coming off, but I might want to change them at some point. Yeah, something's smoked in this corner. But yeah, this is not as obvious as I thought it was going to be. Normally it's one of these bad connectors, but this has been replaced, and that looks okay. Unless there's a bad solder joint, which again is possible. It might actually be a transistor then. I've checked this LED here. This is actually on that circuit that's got the problem. So that will be the tilt. So the entire row is out. Now if part of the row is out, then that's when you start looking for wiring problems halfway through the playfield. But if the entire row is out, then we start looking at the board. System 9 boards are not particularly common, as there's not very many games that use them. However, thankfully, it shares most of the pinout with System 7, so we can use our System 7 displays and diagnostic connector and power supply. The only other additional thing we've got is a negative 12 hooked up. That's just for the sound though, so we don't need that if we're not testing sound. So anyway, I've just stuck it into test mode, got it doing a display test. So the next test is lamp test. So right now it should be pulsing the lamps, so we're going to test those out. For lamp testing we need a whole bunch of other stuff hooked up. So I've basically got a 12 volt going to this lamp power connector here. I've got a ground jumpered to this lamp return here. And I've got the positive of my test LED, which is here, hooked up to a 5 volt, and I'm going to turn it on. And then when we touch this on the lamp connectors here, we'll see that flashing every now and then as that row is being illuminated. So first row is fine, second row is fine, and then third row is doing nothing. Fourth row, fifth row, sixth row, seventh row, eighth row. So back to the third row. So yeah, we have no ground output, well, no ground draw on that pin there. So we need to trace that back. We're going to make sure that we've got an output from this IC driver here, which is on pin 12 of U59. U59 is here. That's pin 14, 13, 12. Okay, so the IC is working. So we've got output here, we've got a problem here. So there's our input signal from the IC onto D11. On the other side of D11 we should just have the negative, which we do. And then if we go, let me just do this carefully, don't short anything. So we have nothing on the output of Q33. So Q33 is most likely dead. So one thing to note is I can see that Q33 has been previously replaced. So we need to keep an eye out and make sure we don't have a problem that's causing that to fail, such as a short on that circuit in the cabinet. Right, so I've replaced this transistor, but there's still an issue. So I've hooked the scope up and we're going to look at pin 12. So we're on 5 volts per division, so we're getting 12 volts at the IC, which is obviously not good. So let's have a look at the circuit. I've removed the IC, not particularly because I think it's faulty, but because I want to see. So basically I've been measuring the voltages at the pins. So we've got 12 volts on this pin, which is the output, and we don't on any of the other pins, on any of the other outputs. So there's definitely a problem with this circuit. So the next thing along, it goes through a resistor to the 12 volt rail, and I've checked that resistor and that is fine. I've removed the SCR and replaced it, and that's still bad, so I've just completely removed the SCR and we've still got the 12 volt present. This one was an annoying one to track the fault down, so I ended up removing a bunch of components so I could do some tests to see what the normal is. And it was actually D11, so D11 here, that was bad. And I don't know why, so I took it out and I've tested it, and it tests like a diode, but it's not working properly. So I've replaced it, and the 12-volt bias has gone away from the IC. So I was reassemble it now, make sure it does work. But I took out the capacitor and I took the SCRs out from 2 so I could test it. Yeah, I'll put everything back to normal, and then we'll test it again. I've put everything back the way it was, apart from obviously replaced this tip 122, and we replaced the diode, and the IC I've put back in. It's in the socket. So let's give it a test. So that's number 1, number 2, and number 3. So number 3 is now working. So that diode, that's the first time I've seen that problem before. So I'll have to remember that one. Okay, so I think we're ready to go and try this back in the machine. I almost forgot I want to check out the blanking circuit. So I've just got a little clip on here just so I can put the probe down and use both my hands while I'm filming. So let's fire up. So what we want to see is we want to see it go low and then high after about half a second, which it did. I'll just try that a few times. If we see any pulse of high before the low, then that's a problem. Yeah, it's working fine, I think. Must have been just a one-off where it fired the coils. I don't see a problem with that. Right, let's go put it in the board back in the game. The board is back in, and you will hopefully see that all the lights appear to be working. So that's fantastic. There's a couple of issues I need to do, not only minor things, but there's a warm white LED amongst these cold lights, so I need to change that one. That sticks out very obviously. In fact, I could steal that one, swap it, because there's a warm white one there. That will match then. It looks like that's a bulb, and that's a bulb. That is also a bulb for some reason. I don't know if you can tell that on camera. That one's orange and the rest are red. So I need to swap an orange somewhere. So it all looks the same. It's weird, you can't really see that. You can, yeah, kind of a little bit, but yeah, that sticks out. So if we get those two swapped, that should make that more uniform. While we're doing that, we're going to take a look at this flipper that gets stuck. And just to show, all the Backbox lights are now working, and I've got 2 displays I need to stick back on. Just taking a quick look at these flippers. So this one seems normal. This one, once you get to about there, something catching in that last part. Because it won't stick when you actually want to demonstrate it. Yeah, it's still not doing it when I'm trying to film it, but when I'm playing a game on it, it definitely sticks up, as it's done a lot of times. One thing of note is the flipper's quite close to the play field. There's almost no gap. That one's not too bad, so it might need a little bit of a gap adding. Just taking a quick look at these flippers. So this one seems normal. This one, once you get to about there, something catching in that last part. Because it won't stick when you actually want to demonstrate it. See, I did identify a couple of bulbs that were in here from the way they were flashing compared to LEDs. So if we're going to go with LEDs, which whoever owns last has put mostly LEDs in, then we need to do it properly and get them all matched up. This one has 3 green bulbs and 1 green LED. Or at least assume it's a green LED. It might be a white one for all I know. I'll power it on and have a look. But yeah, I need to get all the banks matched with the same type of LED so that they look the same rather than looking weird. I wanted to note that there's a bit of hackery going on inside the cab. Not sure what these wires are for, so I will check it out. We've got 2 wires there taped up. Wire there and the wire there taped up. There's a relay hacked in here. Is that a coin counter? Yeah, there's a coin counter that's been hacked in there. So let's have a look at what these wires are supposed to be for. Yeah, this needs going through and matching all. It's just random nonsense going on in here. So that one I thought might be green is actually white. I just thought it might be a frosted cap over a green LED, but no, so that's white, so we don't want that because that's clearly going to be brighter than the rest of those. We've got a warm white there on the right and a cold white there on the left. So a lot of these are just white LEDs instead of colour matched LEDs. So I think we can do a lot better. I quite like having LEDs on inserts. I don't like it on GI. GI LEDs on old games doesn't look right, but I think tastefully done LEDs on the inserts is fine. So we need to get these all matched up correctly. So I'll probably remove a lot of these and put in some matching new ones, just to make it look right. I've dismantled the flipper mech and taken the plunger out, and I've given it a clean with some Scotch-Brite, and it's actually come out really nice, so I don't need to replace it. I've also made sure to polish the edges so there's no sharp edges. The coil sleeve's looking pretty worse for wear, so we'll put a new one of those in. I think that's probably going to solve it. Now if we just re-gap the flipper so that it's a bit loose on the playfield, I think that's probably going to be everything that needs to be done with that. I've reassembled the flipper mech. I think I've got it a lot smoother. You also have to trust me because I couldn't get it to lock up while I was videoing it, but it did actually lock up several times during gameplay. So best thing to do is obviously give it a gameplay test now and check it's working properly. Just like before, I need to get that pop bumper sorted as well. That's not lit up. It's normally a bad connection on the socket, but no, in this case it looks like it might actually be blown. Oh, easy fix then. Yeah, just a new bulb in there. The pop bumper caps actually have chunks bitten out of them in a couple of places, so I need to see if I can get a set of those. Right, for obvious improvements, we're going to get that cold white in there so that they match, put the warm white there, and then those two will match. This 6 is obviously brighter because it's the only LED, so I either need to put all bulbs or all LEDs in that bit there. So nothing else massively obviously out. So yeah, let's get that addressed. No, I forgot the 20, that sticks out really badly, so we'll do the 20 as well. So things are very random in here. So I've sorted out the 3000 bonus, they're all matching colour now. I've sorted out these bonus multipliers, they're all matching colour. I moved one of the, what I thought was a warm white to the in lane there, but it's actually a completely different colour. I don't know if you can see both at the same time. So that's a warm white, and that looks like one of those sunlight coloured ones. So I do need to change that again. We've got a red coloured bulb there and a white bulb there, so we need to again either put two reds in or two non-coloured. What else have we got to match up? So, so the Sorcerer lights, you can see, we've got one warm white and all the rest are cold white. I didn't even notice that one there, so we need to do that. If we look at the back, at the rollovers, we've got 3 cold whites and 1 warm white in the middle, so we need to sort that out. So it's very unmatched in this game. And then there's a purple behind that green insert there. It doesn't look purple on camera, it looks purple with my eye. Wow, needs a lot of matching. I'm happy with that now. I've got everything colour matched, so every single bank has the same coloured LEDs, and that looks much better. One thing I've just noticed, this central island is pretty dim, so let's take a look at that while it's not lighting up. We've got one bulb out and one bulb that's dim. That got a dirty socket. Yeah, it has, look. So we need to clean the socket on that one, and that one just doesn't work, so we need to replace it. I've fixed those bulb sockets now for the GI. While we've got this plastic off, it's actually a great opportunity to clean these switch contacts, so you can actually get to the switches from the top. So the contact is just there, you can see that. So what we use is these cleaning strips. Let's see if I can get them out one-handed. basically like a little piece of cardboard that's got some cleaning chemical on it, and you just push it in between the contacts and then push on the contacts and drag it back, and you'll get little black lines as it cleans the contacts. So we can do all of those. One thing I've noticed is they've all got these foam pads on, and I'm thinking the foam pad is going to make it more difficult to press these ones, so I might have to take those foam pads off, because like I say, it seems impossible to actually hit these during normal gameplay. Right, so I've cleaned these all and I've cut half the foam away on these back ones just to make them a little easier to hit, because as I say, just never could hit them. Let's try that and see how that works. So I've got two more issues to look at. So the flipper problem still exists, however you can't reproduce it just by flipping. If the ball rolls into a flipper and I flip it, it'll stick up, so there has to be some load on it for it to jam. So we're going to have another look at that. The other issue is, so I've got 100 points on there. So if I flip a few times, you see I just get 10 points. So there is a switch somewhere that's triggering from the vibrations of the flipping. It doesn't do it very often, but it does do it sometimes, so need to fix that as well. And those switches now work perfectly with the half of the foam cut back, and they've all been cleaned, so I can actually hit them reliably. There we go, not pressing anything, and the ball's stuck on the flipper. Right, I think I've figured out this flipper situation. So there was two problems. We fixed one of them. So when we did the coil sleeve and polished up the plunger, that fixed the issue where when you manually were lifting the flipper, it was catching. There was like a rough notchy part at the top. That's been resolved. However, it's still sticking on. So when I turn the power off, the flipper drops down. And when I turn the power on and start again, the flipper jumps back up again. So it's actually an electrical issue. So what I think is happening is I think the contacts are welding closed, and it's basically holding it. So if I switch the power back on, and we'll start again, and you can see it goes straight up. So I think the contacts are currently welded closed, and I have to flip away like crazy and it unsticks it. So let's take a look at those contacts. I've got it to do it. So that contact is stuck together. So when you flip normally with no ball on the flipper, it doesn't do it. But if you hold the flipper mech still, so it uses a huge current when it tries to flip, it then welds itself closed like it has done. So yeah, let's see if we can free it up. So I think we can just adjust that out. That should be easy enough to fix. I'm going to find that rogue 10-point switch now. So we've got a 10-point switch here. We've got one here. Where's the other one? There's one here. And then there's one here. Oh, that one is super sensitive. You can just barely brush the rubber on that one. That's the one, I think. So I'm going to take this plastic off and we're going to adjust that switch, just bend it back a little bit so it's not pretty much touched. It's practically shorted on that one. So I've got that right now. Look, you can touch the rubber, it doesn't ping if you press on it. That's much better. So what I'm going to do is just bang down the playfield. Nothing was triggering, so I think we've got that problem solved as well. And that's it. It's all done and ready to play.